In the beginning, there was a Matchbox ambulance, and I converted it to a hearse. In the second mega build, I built the iconic ambulance from the movie Mother, Jugs, and Speed. In round 3, I built the amazing van used by Harry and Skip in the classic comedy movie Stir Crazy. Don't go away. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fat Guy Productions and Mega Build 4! It's finally here! Mega Build 4 is finally here! It's been a long time since the van. Here it is. Look, I actually have it right here. The van from Stir Crazy. Okay, I have the curtains. I have the wood panel protecting the missing window. I have the front bumper damage, the wheels are a match, and this is actually extended. I had to extend this because the van model was not right, so I had to extend the entire thing to make it correct. But here it is, the van from Stir Crazy Mega Build 3. What fun that was. So today we have Mega Build 4. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get to work. Now, my son lives across the street from the guy who owns this, and every time I would see his truck, I thought to myself, that is so cool. So one day, I had the epiphany to do this and make it a mega build. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, what exactly is a mega build? Well, not to put it too modestly, it's the best custom diecast video you're ever going to see in your entire whole life. That's right, that's what a mega build is. It is amazing. Every inch of it is just structurally sound, and you're going to be enthralled, and you're going to be captivated, and it's going to be wonderful. Or something like that. Okay, no, it's a really in-depth custom is what a mega build is. Okay, so let's get to work. The first steps involved getting pictures. My son took care of that for me, and then gathering stuff together. I had to even figure out what casting to use, and my other son, he kind of came to the rescue and said, hey, I think that truck is kind of like this. And so with that information, I was able to find this bread truck from Hot Wheels, and that's what we're going to be using. Is it 100% matchup? No, it's not. But you know what? It's going to do the job. So we've got this bread truck. And then the other thing I did is I started getting stuff in line. I had to order wheels. I had to check my my stock of plastic, styrene plastic, because I was going to need some of that. You know, I ordered a little generator, stuff like, you know, I wanted to get all my ducks in a row, as it were. So I got all that stuff ordered, and as it came in, it was time to go ahead and start. And to do that, we're taking a look at this Hot Wheels bread truck. Now, it's a pretty simple little casting, you know, really boring, but I think it's close enough to the coffee truck, so that's what we're going to work with. And we'll do, this part is going to be just kind of normal, like what we normally do. We're going to get this thing taken apart. So, before I get out the drill and everything, I'm going to just take a couple quick measurements, and those will come into play later. I just need kind of like the top and bottom and front to back. Nothing major, but it's gonna be part of the decal creation thing, and you'll see how I'm going to deal with that a little bit later on. But we'll go ahead and get a few measurements, and then we can get this thing apart. Okay, this casting has one post at the front of the truck, and the back is held on with a little tab from the base that hooks through the body, and it locks it all together. So all we got to do is just drill out the front post, and we're going to use our standard situation. Now, this is just going to get a little bit of oil, because I've found that that really makes a difference in drilling out the post. It's amazing. And then I don't need a Vix Bit here, because in the newer castings, they're all kind of dimpled. And so all I need is just an appropriate sized drill bit. I got that little bit of oil, and then I can go ahead and just sit the drill bit right into the dimple and drill away until the base comes loose. Now, this does have a plastic base. I'm not a fan. I find them harder to take apart. And the reason for that is if you get too aggressive, you're going to drill right through the base and make a problem for yourself. So you're trying to balance caution with success. And, I'm just not a fan of the plastic bases. So anyhow, once we've got that done, I'll get my little mini screwdriver here, and I can help pry the base off the casting itself and take a look at it. It's just a plastic base with the wheels and axles. It does have the front grille molded into it. Then next up, we're going to have this interior piece, and the interior piece is pretty substantial in that it not only has the interior, but it also has the rear doors molded into it. So the base and the interior piece are all going to have to be painted as I go along here. And you can see it's already just being grumpy about even popping out. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get out. But once we have it, it's just a molded piece of plastic and got these little junky doors on it. Then we have a piece of glass inside the die-cast body. We'll pop that out. And then all that remains is the casting itself. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to drill a hole in the post so that we can tap it and put a screw in it. I like to do that before I get the paint or anything like that, or even before I get to the stripper. I like to have all of this stuff kind of taken care of right up front. That way, if there's going to be a problem, I know it before I put a lot of effort into a bunch of the other stuff that I have to do. So, a little dab of oil, my drill bit, and I drill down into the post. So after I've gone deep enough, I use a little pick, and I just probe the hole to make sure I feel like I'm deep enough into the post. Then I'll add a drop of oil, and I'll get out my tap from Brightvision, and I will go ahead and cut some grooves to the inside of the post so it will hold a screw. So why do I put a screw in it right now? Well, I'll tell you, the main reason is to just make sure everything is working okay. Make sure that the screw threads in nicely and that it goes deep enough that it bites. Everything is working right, but it also helps keep scamots out of the drilled out post. So I always put a screw in before I go any further, and once I'm happy with that, we can head to the stripper. All right, out comes my tub of citrus strip. And it's funny because the citrus strip is eating away the fumes of it. I don't get any of it on the seal. Just the fumes of it are eating away the rubber seal for the lids. I'm going to have to replace this pretty soon. But anyhow, we'll nestle the truck down into the citrus strip. I'm going to grab just a little toothpick here and poke it down. But We're going to get it down in there, and we're going to let it sit for a while we pay attention to other things. So I told you about that I was going to get some measurements early on, and this is why. My plan of attack, this is a really complex paint job, okay? It's kind of like one of those anime-looking paint jobs. So what I'm going to do is, using the photos I have, I'm going to replicate the paint job, okay? All the layers, the base layer, the upper layers, the white and black details, I'm going to replicate all of that. Then once I'm done, because these pictures are skewed, then I'm going to use the features of my editing software to square everything up. And then once I've done that, I can use the measurements I took at the beginning and size everything appropriately. And that should end up giving me well-fitting decals. The last thing I'll do before printing is I'll drop out the background color, because that's going to get painted, and then the other colors will lay on top as a decal. Once I'm happy with the artwork, and I'm using both Illustrator and Photoshop to get this done, once I'm done with that and I'm happy with it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print a copy out on regular paper. I'm going to then cut those decals out of the regular paper and just kind of press fit them onto the casting and kind of see if everything is lining up and looking okay. If it is, then I will turn to my decal printer and print out the finished decals. I'll print several sets, because I got to be honest with you, this is the make or break point of this entire project. If I can't make the decals work, I can't make this casting work. I can't make this thing go. It's just not going to happen. So I really need to make this work, and I'm frankly just not sure at this point if this is going to happen or not. I really don't know. We'll give it the old college try and see what happens. Okay, so I have decals. They're printed. They're ready to go. And like I said, I dropped out the base color because I'm going to paint the base color and then decal over it. And so what I'm doing is I'm using some of the opaque paints from the Redline Shop, and I'm mixing up what I think will be the closest to the base color. And for that, I'm using a light blue and some purple. And I'm going to mix it up until I get a color I'm satisfied with, and then we'll take the casting and we'll go over to the paint booth. So I'm here at the paint booth, and the first thing I had to do is I had to kind of mask off some of the base, and because, you know, I didn't want to get the whole base done, but I did need to prime the body, the front grille of the base, and the rear doors of the interior so that they would take the paint, because they're all going to get body color paint. So for that, I'm going to use my Tamiya Fine Primer in white, which will give the paint color a little bit of extra pop. And it always does such a good job. I love this stuff. Once it's all primed, we'll set it aside to dry, and we'll get ready to lay down the base color. So everything is dry, and I've added some hardener to the paint that I mixed up earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and start painting the body and the grille and the doors. And to do that, I'm going to use my standard technique: tack coats, medium coats, wet coats. I really need to take my time here and make sure that the paint is nice and smooth, because this is going to get a lot of major decals on it, and they're going to need that nice smooth surface to really work out well. All right, well, I don't even know what to expect here. I really don't. I'm not just saying that. You can see, look, I'm saying it. It's not done, okay? So I don't know how this is going to work out. The only answer I had for how to do this detailed paint job on this thing is by using decals. So I made decals. The two upper colors, and then painted this its base color. And then I'm going to try and see if I can get these to work out in such a manner that it looks how it's supposed to look. So, what will happen? Anybody's guess. Let's give this a try. And I have to kind of make a pretty quick decision on how things are working, because if this doesn't work right, I'm going to need to get these off of there, or I'm going to have an... Or I speak English very good. I are intelligent. If this isn't working, I'm going to have to get the decals off pretty quickly. Or I'm going to have to repaint the whole thing. Okay, so far that looks really cool. I need more lava. Do here. Okay, so this is a really tough decaling job. These decals are full side coverage. They go over the windows and everything. I'll trim them out after they're fully adhered, but it makes it really tough to get them on and make sure their position is right. This is one of the tougher decaling jobs I've ever had to do. But without this, I don't know how. I mean, I guess I could try and brush paint the paint job on there. But this is the only way I could think of to really do justice to the crazy paint job on this truck. So decals it is. This is going to be a whole series of things, okay? Get the decals on, position them, setting solution, drying, more setting solution, working them in, trimming them down, more setting solution. So this took a couple days to get this right, but once done, I was actually pretty happy with the way it came out. And I think this is going to work. Again, this is probably going to be one of those projects where we're going to have to do a lot of waiting. So the decals are on. They're really, really dry, and I'm not messing around. We're going straight to clear coat here because I need to protect these decals, okay? Because I cannot go through that again, all right? This was not easy. I got to get these things underneath some clear coat so I don't do any damage to them. So that's what we're doing. We're using the clear coat I get from Diecast Graveyard. You all know and love Paul Bechtel of Diecast Graveyard. This is his own stuff. And I'm going to have a link for that in the description. But this stuff is amazing, and I'm going to use it right here to lock everything in and give this truck a really great sheen. Now, I told you I did a lot of shopping before I started this to make sure I had everything that I would need to do this build, and one of the things I did is I ordered these white wall reel riders. Now, they're not quite the same as in the original the original truck. The original truck has those giant full-side white walls. These are just white walls, okay? A substantial one. They're going to look great, okay? But they're not going to be 100%. And sometimes when you're doing this small a scale of stuff, you're just gonna have to make some trade-offs. So this is one of them. This is the best wheel that I could find, and I think it's gonna look great, but it's not gonna be 100% accurate. So the axles that came on the Reel Riders are not right. They're not gonna fit. So I'm just gonna get the wheels off of that axle and put them on the axle that came on the truck. Not a big deal. Should be easy enough. And make everything fit better. Also, I do need to kind of shorten things a little bit because I need these wheels to kind of tuck in, okay? They need to be a little bit tighter. So I'm going to just do a lot of test fitting and make sure that the wheels are going to go on smooth and everything's going to fit right. Okay, so I've got the Reel Riders on their new axle, and I'm test fitting them to the base, and it looks like it's gonna be just about right, okay? So I'm pretty excited about that, but proof is in the pudding. Let's get the body onto the base and see how this is all gonna look. And look at that, that is looking so sweet. This is really exciting for me. I'm very happy about this. All right, with the clear coat nice and dry, I have one more bit of painting, major painting to do, and that's the roof. The roof on the coffee truck is white. So I'm just going to mask this off really quickly, take it back to the paint booth, and I'm going to hit it up with Tamiya Fine Primer in white, and that is going to be my entire roof color. It always gives a really nice finish. It should look great. I'm not going to put anything over the top of it. I'm just going to do that. It should really work out fantastic. And then when we're done, we'll get back over here and get the masking tape off and see what we have. All right, so now it's time to really get into a lot of scratch building stuff. I need to do all the sides and the wraparounds on the back of this truck. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some rolling doors that would be on either side of the truck that they can roll up and open up the truck so they can tend to their customers. And for that, I'm turning to evergreen styrene plastic sheets and shapes, and I'm just kind of making some doors. Now, the rubber mat, the silicone mat, I showed you that in an earlier video. I love it. Apparently you guys love it too. Here's a great reason for this thing. I can lay this work flat down on the mat. line everything up, dab some Tamiya thin cement on it, let it glue the parts together, but it's not going to stick it down permanently to the rubber mat. I can just kind of and take it right back up off of there. So it's a fantastic aid for gluing flat things like this. So anyhow, I'm going to get this framed up. I'm going to make 2 of these, and then we can go ahead and put a little silver paint on them. Now, for the truck itself, I know for a fact he has trimmed it out with real wood. But the panels themselves, I don't believe he used wood. I believe he just painted them brown and then trimmed them with wood. I'm going to use real wood. I've got this wood veneer here. I'm going to find a nice walnut color and then like a pine color. And for that, I'm going to use those things to make the side panels. But frankly, I don't remember exactly how they looked. So bingo, this is a new addition to my new desks, is my iPad that I have on a little mounted arm. And look at this, look how nice this is. I can go right to my photo album and I can look at the pictures and have them displayed right in front of me while I work. And so I have the side of the truck right there in front of me, and I can look at it and figure out how everything is set up. And it's fantastic. This is such a great addition to my work desk. Anyhow, I'm going to use this picture, and I'm going to figure out exactly what I have to do for all the wood trim down below. So I really kind of felt like looking at the pictures, it was a little too complex. And I needed to understand it better. I needed to have more stringent measurements and stuff. So I'm going to take out and make a little sketch here and then get the measurements I feel like I need so that I can work this whole thing out. Now, I also want to point out something. This is so cool. My sister sent me this the other day. She's had this in storage for the longest time. This notepad belonged to my grandfather. It was from when he was a younger man and worked, and it's a notepad he had on his desk. And after he passed, it got stored away, and she's had it for years. And she found it and sent it to me because me and my grandfather Campbell were, Clyde Campbell, we were inseparable. We called ourselves the Gruesome Twosome. So I'm using this for the very first time to make this sketch on. And it's just a thing of joy and happiness for me. So anyhow, I'm making a sketch of the wood panels, and then I'll go back and I'll get some measurements and figure everything out so I can go ahead and get to cutting wood down to shape. Now, as I get the measurements to go with the drawing, I'm going to give you a little bit of truth here. Even with the drawing and even with the measurements, I still screwed up, okay? One of the trim pieces is supposed to extend all the way to the back. And it was supposed to be the upper trim piece. I made the lower piece extend all the way to the back and not the upper one, so I had to fix that. Just proof positive that, anybody can screw up, and I did. Fortunately for me, it wasn't catastrophic. It was an easy fix. But yeah, the best laid plans of mice and men, and I still blew it. But I was able to fix it, so all is good. Okay, so I have all the measurements I need. I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do. So now I need to start cutting down some of this veneer. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this kind of pine colored wood, and I'm going to cut it to the maximum length I need, and then from that I will cut out strips that I'll be using to trim everything out. So all I got to do is just look, if you bear down on it and try and get through it in the first pass, you're going to veer off and you're going to have problems here. So all I'm doing is just running the X-Acto knife over it lightly, multiple passes, scoring it over and over, and then I'll just be able to bend this and snap it right off nice and clean, and it's going to be just perfect. The little tiny parts going with the grain, they're going to cut off super easy. But this piece, it was just easier to just score it and kind of, I'm going to put it on the end of the table and bend it a little bit, and it's going to snap and just go right along the score line. It's going to be perfect and easy. And that tip works too when you're using sheet styrene. You can just score it several times and then bend it and it'll snap right along the score line. So just food for thought. All right, so sometimes it can be really hard to get good measurements, and so I always like to double check things. The first thing I do is I measure in millimeters, and the reason for that is it's easier because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, it's just 1 to 10. I don't have to worry about fractions or anything like that, or converting fractions to decimal points or anything like that. It's just how many millimeters do I need? All right, it's so much easier. Then I also want to test fit things because, like I said, it can be really difficult to get accurate measurements. So I want to see the pieces I've made on the casting and see if they look right. If not, then I can make adjustments. So I've cut out a bunch of strips, and what I'm doing now is I'm kind of plotting out where the rolling doors are going to go. And frankly, I made another mistake with the rolling doors. They come down too far. Okay, so I ended up having to trim those back. Then I glued them back together, repainted them, and here you see the new ones, and they're all set. Now, I made a template for a solid piece of walnut veneer to go below them. And I'm just test fitting everything. I'm test fitting the little walnut piece and the modified rolling doors to make sure everything is going to fit and look right. If it does, then we can move on. If not, I'll make more modifications. This is really looking very, very cool with the real wood on the sides and the overhead rolling doors. And it just, everything is starting to come together, and I'm really starting to feel it. And that happens to me. When I'm doing these projects, there's a certain point where I just start to really feel it, and I become excited, and it really drives me to push forward. And that's how I'm feeling right now. Okay, so I've test fit everything. I like the way it all worked out, and I've decided that the wood veneer has to go on first because I'm going to use the very bottom of the van as sort of my straight line. And so I'm going to put a little of my gel control CA glue on the wood veneer. I'm going to line it up with the bottom edge of the casting and then just kind of lay it into position and let it grab a hold. And boom. That is so cool, and I could not be happier with it. Now, the nice part about doing it that way is that it's going to make it a lot easier for me to put the rolling door on because all I have to do is line that up with the edge of the wood veneer, and we'll be in business. But man, look at that. It's so cool. So again, now I'm going to get out the CA glue. I'm going to put a little bit of it on the side of the truck, and then I can go ahead and glue on the rolling door, and then I will repeat all of that on the other side. So everything you're going to see here, it's going to be mirrored on the other side of the casting. Okay, so now using all of those strips I made out of the pine-colored wood, now I can frame all of the wood trim down below out, okay, because it gets all framed all the way around the wheel well and all of that stuff. And so for that, I'm just going to fit as I go. So I'm going to kind of line it up, get one end perfect, mark the other end, then cut it down, test fit it, glue it. That's going to be my procedure for the whole way around this thing. Everywhere you see the wood trim, I'm going to line it, mark it, cut it, test fit it, trim as needed, glue it down. Now, you may have noticed in the pictures at the beginning, the real truck has some tikis at the rear corners of the truck, along with a surfboard and a box to hold a generator. So I asked Reggie if she would make me some tikis out of Fimo clay, and she was kind enough to do that for me. And they came out amazing. But the problem is, she hated doing it because it was so small and so detailed, and I ended up finding out that they were still a little too big. So now she didn't want to make anything smaller. And so we came up with an alternative plan. She found me these finials out of wood, and I was able to use my little display grinding tool, and I was able to kind of carve tikis into these finials. And they came out so good. They're not 100%. His tikis have crazy eyeballs, and one's got like wrenches coming out of his nose, and another's got pistons coming out of his mouth and stuff. So they're not 100%. They're not 100%. But you sure do get the idea that these are the little tiki poles on the back of his truck, and I am so happy with the way these came out. So I just used this little tool, ground out some tikis, and we'll finish them up later. So I'm going to keep the tikis that Reggie made for me because they're amazing and I really love them, but I just can't use them. They're just too big. So I'm going to put them aside and I'll find something to do with them at a later date. In the interim, I'm going to use the ones that I carved out of those finials, but they need to be a dark brown, and they're on like a toothpick colored material. So to stain them, I'm actually going to just take a little Tamiya flat brown, put a little bit on my brush, take my brush, dip it in some water to really saturate it, and then I'm just going to brush it all over the little carved tikis, and that should act like a stain and make them look fantastic. And that's exactly what ends up happening. They come out really great. I'm so happy with them. And that was honestly one of the bigger challenges and something that I was worried about. But in the end, I think they came out fantastic. Of course, you'll be the judge of that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyhow, so I go ahead and get them dark brown, let them dry, and then we'll trim them down to fit a little bit later. Now, also on the back of the truck, there is a wooden box. It's made to match the wood wrapping of the truck. And in that box, there is a generator for running his electric in the truck. So, believe it or not, I actually ordered a 1/64 scale generator, 3D printed generator, online, and I'm actually going to put it in there. You're not going to see any of it except the smallest bit, and that's only if you shine a light in there. But I'll know it's in there. So I made the box out of some sheet plastic, and I just cut the panels to size, glued them all together, and then I'm going to wrap it with the wood veneer. All right? And so it should make it look really, really cool. But this is going to take some effort because, first of all, I need the box. Second of all, the box needs to be the right size. Third of all, it needs to be wrapped in wood. And fourth of all, it has to have some kind of I think it's either a coffee grinder or a coffee roaster on top of it. Where the heck am I going to find a 1/64 scale coffee roaster? So I'm going to have to think of something to do up there. But right now, I just have to get past the hurdle of making the box that has to go on the back of the truck. So that's what I'm doing here. I've got the plastic part built, and I'm just cutting out wood panels and using my gel control CA glue to glue them onto the plastic. And then we'll figure out the rest of it afterwards. All right, so I've glued on the first Tiki. I trimmed it, fit it, and glued it on using gel control. And I'm doing each side separately because, each side's a little bit different. I want to make sure everything fits right. So on the other side, again, I'm just going to test fit everything, trim it down, make sure the Tiki is fitting right, and then a little bit of gel control and put the Tiki in place. And we are good to go there. And what a nice little touch this is. And it was brilliant on the guy's part to put those on his truck. And they look fantastic. So with the little box for the back all built and wrapped, I've painted and put the little generator inside of it. And the only thing it needs now is it needs the wood roof on it, the little wood top of it. And so I've made that, and I'm going to glue that on and then do some final trimming to that to make sure it's right. And then I've got to tackle that whole coffee grinder thing for the top of it, which that in and of itself is a whole challenge. I could do a whole video on just making that coffee grinder, but I won't. So for the coffee grinder, sometimes the best way to scratch build something is to just go to the hobby store and walk around. And that's what I did. I went to Hobby Lobby and I found in the jewelry section these little globes, and you can put stuff inside the little globe, and they have this little cover that closes it off. And it looked like it would be the perfect part to use to make the coffee grinders. So I bought these, took them home, got them out, looked at them, and sure enough, they're going to work really good if I can figure out how to do the rest of it. So I took one of those and I cut off the little ear that's there to hold it onto a chain, got rid of that, and test fit it to where it was going to sit on top of the box. It looked like it was going to be right. So now I needed to make coffee beans. So I got a little bit of Fimo from Reggie in brown, formed it to the shape of this little dome, textured the top of it, baked it, and now I can put it all together. So I'm going to paint the little part. I'm going to glue in the little clay coffee grounds, and then using some plastic and a little piece of a toothpick, I'm going to make the little grinding handle for it, glue that all on, stick it on top of the box, and it should look fantastic. So it's time to really start to get this thing together. And I'm going to have more work to do after I get it together. But it's really time to put it together. And I've had the interior in for the longest time, and I need to kind of get it out of the way so I can get the glass in, because I never put that in there. So I'm just kind of pushing the interior down and out of the way. I'll pop the glass in, put the interior back in, and then we can go ahead and seal this truck up and make sure that it's looking good and that I'm happy with how everything is situated. And then we can go ahead and start to pay attention to a lot of the final details. I think you can probably understand how I'm feeling right now, because this thing is looking amazing and I'm super, super excited about the whole project. It's actually going to work out, and it's going to be something that I'm going to be proud of, and I'm very, very happy about this. So, because this is one of the more challenging builds that I've done. So, hey, it's coming out and I'm happy. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and put the coffee grinder on the back. Again, a little CA glue. I'm going to put some dabs on there. We'll just line this thing up and glue it right to the rear bumper and to the rear doors and let it dry. Well, other than a little bit of detail painting and some monotile chrome, the last bit of this is a surfboard. My original intention was to use a Hot Wheels surfboard from like a Diora. Too big. I ended up having to make this surfboard completely from scratch using some of my wood veneer. So I just kind of drew one out, carved it down, sanded it up, and painted it and attached it to the rear. And we are finally done with Mega Build number 4. All right, everybody, here it is. Mega Build 4, the Grinds Coffee Truck. This was fun, and I think it came out great. I really do. Is it perfect? No, there's little things that I wish were not, okay? But generally speaking, I think it came out amazing. I think it's very true to the real truck, and I hope the guy loves it when I give it to him. I really do. And I hope you love the video. If you did, please give this video a giant thumbs up, click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell to let me know that you want to see Mega Build 5. All right? So as far as that goes, put in the comments any ideas you have for Mega Build 5. Let me know what you thought of the Grinds Coffee Truck. Have you ever visited the Grinds Coffee Truck here in Vegas? You know, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this project. All right, this has been long enough. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope the rest of your day is full of hyped up, caffeinated coffee dreams. And until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions saying Be good.